Hey again guys, welcome back for another video. What I want to talk about today is what to expect when you go to shippers and receivers. Now, I thought about this, of course, those of you that have been in trucking or are already in expediting know this, but when I was thinking of stuff to do videos on, and I have a whole list of stuff, this was one of the things that popped into my head because when we started this, I had no clue what to expect going into shipping and receivers or anything like that. So I thought it'd probably be good to kind of do a video on this for those of you that have never done this or thinking about getting into it, because that's something you really need to know. So we're going to talk about that today. Now, like I said, when Jason and I first started in this, I had no clue what to do when we got to shippers or receivers. He had told me, Jason had, told me what to do and stuff, and I had gone on some deliveries with him when he worked for the courier company in Dallas, but I never actually went into the shippers or receivers. I was basically just riding along with him, and of course that's kind of where I learned to drive a bigger truck. But I never learned what to do at shippers and receivers. And when we had our orientation 3 years ago, they didn't tell you what to do. Basically they just explained the paperwork, what paperwork you needed to get signed and that kind of thing, but they didn't tell anybody, this is what you do when you get to a shipper, this is what you need to look for, things like that. So that's why I wanted to talk about that today, because I don't know if people just don't think about it or people just assume that you know what to do, but I figured, hey, why not talk about it and let some of y'all know that don't. So I want to talk about shippers first, because of course you're always going to do a pickup and give to a shipper before you would go to a receiver to deliver your freight. So when you get to a shipper, what you're going to do, first of all, most places have a shipping and receiving. Some places the shipping is going to be separate from the receiving dock. Some places they're together. Now, some places will have signs and some do not. So you just kind of got to look for signs. Most of the time, if there's not a sign, you're going to look for docks. Obviously, somewhere that you're going to be able to back your cargo van, truck, tractor trailer into to pick up the freight. Usually they're going to have a door that's separate from the dock doors that you're going to go in. And first of all, when you get there, you don't automatically want to back up into any empty dock, because you don't know, first of all, where they're going to want you. And if there's no signs that say shipping or receiving, you don't know if that's where they're going to want you to back your truck up or cargo van, tractor trailer to pick the freight up. So first thing is try to find somewhere that you can kind of park your truck out of the way of other trucks or cargo vans that are coming in and out, and go into that door if they have a door or an open dock door, and you're going to look for a shipping office. Usually they'll have a shipping office, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they'll just have a little podium there that's the shipping. Sometimes they don't have anything, they just have people there on forklifts. So first thing, look for the shipping office. If you don't see that or signs telling you where to go, ask somebody. If you see somebody there on the dock or there in the door that you go in, ask them. 9 times out of 10, they're going to be nice and let you know, direct you to where you need to go. That was one of the things when we first started. Again, I had no clue what to do. Our first few pickups and deliveries, both of us went in just so that I could see and Jason could show me, what to look for, what to do, things like that. But when I started going in on my own, I was kind of nervous about it, just because it was new. I didn't know what to do. And, I'd kind of stand there and be kind of scared to talk to anybody. But now I'll talk to anybody if I see them, if I'm looking for somebody. So don't be afraid to ask. If you don't know where you're going, most of the people are going to be very nice and tell you where to go or where you need to go. Once you find out where you need to go or who you need to talk to in the shipping department, they're going to tell you where they want you to back into to get loaded. Sometimes you're going to pull into a dock. Sometimes they may just load you right there in the parking lot, depending on if they have a dock, if they, if they have a forklift they can get it into your vehicle with. So they'll let you know where they want you to go to get loaded. Now, when they load you, of course, you want to be there while they're loading, so you can, first of all, tell them how you want your truck loaded, or your cargo van or tractor trailer. You don't just want them to just load it however they want. You want to kind of supervise that to make sure that it's loaded properly for the weight that you can carry and be distributed properly for your truck. Now, a lot of times some of the shippers are going to require you to have a safety vest and safety glasses. Some require hard hats. A lot of times they'll have those things available for you if they require them on their docks. Now, some don't. We carry a safety vest and safety glasses. I mean, that's the minimum really you should carry in your truck anyway. You should have a good pair of safety glasses, or two if you're a team. Even if you're a solo, I would say two, just so you have a backup. And an orange or fluorescent green safety vest. The one that we have, let me show you, it's just a green, kind of a fluorescent green safety vest. See that? And we rarely have to use it, but it is good to have for your safety equipment. You can get those, I think Walmart has them. I think we got that one at Harbor Freight, and it was really inexpensive. They have some expensive ones, but for I think I've used it twice in 3 years. So just something to have on the truck with you for when you go into shippers and receivers. Another thing you want to look for when they're loading your truck is you want to inspect the freight. You want to kind of give it a quick look over, make sure there's no obvious damage, any forklift holes, broken pallets, broken freight. Because if there is, you need to ask them about that, for one, and have it noted, because once you sign for that freight, you're responsible. So if something isn't right when you get it, you need to make them aware and have that taken care of before you ever sign for it or leave. You don't want to get to a receiver and there's a big forklift hole in the side of their freight and they're blaming you for it because you signed for it and now it's your responsible. Once you sign, you are responsible. So no matter if they did that at the receiver or not, you're responsible. So you want to give it a quick look over, make sure everything looks good before you sign for that freight. Once they get your freight loaded, you're gonna of course secure your freight. Then they're going to get the paperwork. Now some places they'll do the paperwork before they load you, some places they're gonna do it after they load you. Usually what they're gonna do is they're gonna give you a bill of lading. They'll either give you 1 or 2 copies, and sometimes they'll give you packing lists, some other paperwork, hazmat paperwork if it's a hazmat load, things like that. One thing I did want to point out, if you are picking up a hazmat load, and we may do a video more just on hazmat stuff so we can kind of address some things on there, but with hazmat, you want to make sure if it's a load that needs to be placard, you need to display placards for, the shipper is responsible to supply you with those. Now some vehicles have the flip placards, you already have that on there, some do not. Like our vehicle, we have to actually slip placards into the placard holders. So you want to make sure that the shipper supplies those to you. With us, even if we have them, we make sure we get them, and we always get 2 extras. So again, we'll do a video on hazmat stuff just to kind of go over some pointers on that. I don't want to go all into that on this video, but that is something that they should give you with the paperwork if you're picking up hazmat. Now they're going to usually have you sign a copy of the bill of lading. So you'll sign that. They're going to give you that copy and any copy of the paperwork that goes with that load. Once you're loaded, you're good to go. Pull out of the dock, secure your doors, whatever you need to do there. So that's basically what you're going to be expecting when you get to a shipper. One more thing I did want to point out, and this can go for shippers and receivers, but once you're loaded, some places, depending on the place, they're going to want to see the back of your truck. once you're loaded or unloaded. It depends on their security, and it depends on the place you go. And sometimes if they have a guard check, they may want to see your bill of lading also when you're pulling out to leave their facility. So now I want to talk about what to expect when you get to the receiver or where you're delivering the freight to. And I apologize, the sun is really bright. It's early morning here, and I'm right facing the sun. So hopefully that's not too bright for y'all in the video, and you can see the fun little heart shapes for Valentine's Day on my head. So sorry. Anyway, when you get to the receivers, it's basically the same thing as when you go to a shipper. You're going to want to look for the receiving signs or signs that say shipping and receiving. You're going to want to look for the docks. You're going to want to look for anything that directs you to shipping and receiving. And again, if they don't have signs, the most obvious thing to look for is dock doors, because that's normally where they're going to load or unload you, or when you get to where you're going. So same thing applies when you get to the receiver. Once you kind of find the dock doors or where you need to go, you're going to kind of want to park out of the way and go in and find out where they want you, so they can unload the freight. One thing I didn't mention that I want to mention, some places have the guard shacks, like I said, and a lot of times those, if you don't know, if it's a place you've never been before, you can ask the guard where you need to go, and they'll usually direct you. Now that's not always the right place, especially in some of these automotive facilities. They're really big, and they've got, you know, different docks for different things that they're getting or shipping. So you can always ask the guard at the guard shack too. But like I said, they don't always tell you the right place to go. So, you know, that's why you don't want to just assume you find a dock and get there and pull in, because that may not be where they actually need to unload you or load you. So again, find the door, go in, and ask somebody. If you don't see an obvious shipping or receiving office, you want to ask somebody, and they will probably direct you who you need to talk to or where you need to go. Same thing applies back into the dock. They tell you want to go back in, because if your freight's strapped in, you're going to want to unstrap that. Now, some places don't allow you on the docks. There's some automotive places they don't allow you on the dock. Now, they may let you just go in and unstrap your load. Some places don't want you on the dock at all. They have a little waiting area for drivers that they want you to stay in, and you have to give them your keys. A lot of times some automotive places are like that. So don't get offended if they tell you that. That's just their procedures and their safety procedures. You know, you want to adhere to whatever procedures that they have there at their facility. So again, you may have to go and unstrap your freight, and then they'll unload you. Let me back up just a little bit. One thing I didn't mention: when you go in to find out where they want you to park to be unloaded, you want to take your paperwork in. You want to take like Panther, we have a Pro bill we take in, a Panther, actual Panther paperwork we take in, and then we take the bill of lading and any other paperwork they've given you for that load. So you want to take that in with you when you go in to find out where to go. Sometimes if you find the right person, they'll hold on to that till you're unloaded. Other times they won't. You just keep it with you. Once you get where you need to go to be unloaded, take it back in. Because once you're offloaded now, you want to get that paperwork signed by whoever either unloaded you or their receiving department needs to sign that, because that's your proof of delivery for your company. So that's very important. I usually will ask them, you know, because some people scribble their signature and you can't read it. I always usually ask them to please print their name as well, just so I can read it. You know, we have to, when we're done with a load, we have to put that POD in our Qualcomm and give that to Panther, so they know who the POD was and they have that in the system. So I always usually ask them just politely, you know, can you please print your name too? And usually they don't have a problem with it. You know, you don't want to be not being able to read their name and making up a name, and for some reason down the line they say they didn't get their freight and the POD that you put in there was wrong because you couldn't read their name and you just put whatever you thought it was. So that's very important to make sure that you get at least at the very minimum the last name, a first initial. You know, the whole name is obviously the best thing if you can get that, but you know, not everybody wants to give all that information. A last name is the minimum that I would get from them. And they shouldn't have a problem with that. You know, if they're used to unloading, loading trucks, they're gonna know, you know, everybody needs a POD, so they shouldn't give you a hard time on that. Another thing I want to mention, when you're getting to a shipper or receiver, once you get loaded, some freight or some shippers, they put seals on your load. So once they get you loaded, they close the doors, you're going to have a seal. Now there's several different types of seal. There's a bolt kind of seals where they have to use a bolt cutter to get off. There's wire seals where you'd have to use a wire snip. There's kind of a cable seal, and there's also some plastic seals. So there's a variety of seals. If they do seal your load, usually, or what should happen is that seal number or seal numbers, if they put 2, should be listed on your bill of lading or the paperwork you get from that shipper. You need to verify those seal numbers that they're putting on your truck matches to what they have on that paperwork they give you. Because when you get to that receiver, they're going to want to verify those seals to make sure that nobody's opened that load, you haven't messed with that load, that it's been in your truck the whole time from the shipper to them. So make sure you verify those seal numbers that they're putting on your truck. Now there are some receivers, once you get there, they don't even look at the seal numbers, but regardless, you know, you need to make sure what they're putting on your truck matches what's on the paperwork, because you don't want any issues when you do get to a receiver and for some reason somebody mistyped a seal number or miswrote a number and they check that seal and it's not right. You know, that can be a big headache and a big hassle that you don't want to have to deal with. So that is an important point just to remember on when you're getting loaded. So that's pretty much the basics on what to expect when you get to a shipper or a receiver and what to do, what to expect. I hope that'll help y'all if you've, like I said, never done this and kind of maybe wondered about that. That's not something I really thought about when we first got into this until we actually started doing it. And then I was like, well, what do I do? So that's why I wanted to do this video, because, you know, there's a lot of things that I don't think people, you know, you don't think about when you're thinking about doing a job. So that's why I wanted to do this video, so y'all can have kind of an idea on that. You know, if there's any of y'all out there that are doing this, watching our videos, if you have any other tips, you know, leave them down in the comments. I'd love to hear them. You know, I'm sure other people that watch the videos would love to hear them too. So if you want to share any tips or maybe something that I left out, feel free to do that. You know, we welcome that. We don't ever claim to be experts on anything. You know, it's always a learning process as we go, and we're just happy to be able to help anybody we can and share the information. And like I said, if there's other people out there that have suggestions that they do, leave it down in the comments. I'm sure other people would like to know your suggestions as well. So we welcome any kind of comments and suggestions, good or bad criticism. You know, that's part of this, we realize, making these videos. So hope that helped. And as I always say in every video, you can always contact us by email, leaving comments down below, Facebook, Instagram. Always happy to hear from you. So you guys have a great day, and we will see you in our next video. Take care. Bye-bye.